opening week of the Major League Baseball season, presented by Burger King. This afternoon, we're at Miller Park. The defending World Series champion St. Louis Cardinals take on the NL Central champion Milwaukee Brewers. Last time the Cardinals saw lefty Randy Wolf was back on August 31st. At this ballpark, Rafael Furcal, Albert Pujols, and Jake Westbrook with a grand slam, 6 earned runs en route to a Redbird win. Happy Easter, everyone, and welcome to Cardinals Baseball with Al Raboski. I'm Dan McLaughlin. The Cardinals face Wolf today, and Mike Matheny has switched up his lineup.
Yeah, it's a time to give some of the guys that have been sitting on the bench, give them a start. So you got Shane Robinson, Tony Cruz, and Matt Carpenter. Even though Matt Carpenter's a left-handed hitter, he's in there against the left-handed pitcher, Randy Wolf. Randy, no secret about him. He likes to pitch at the top of the strike zone. A lot of cutters in on the right-handed batters. He has a very, very slow curveball, and you'll see a very effective changeup.
Big right-hander Lance Lynn getting to start here this afternoon, filling in for Chris Carpenter. A look at Lance when we come back. Cardinals Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, official beer of the first inning. Great times are on deck. Grab some buds. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, just no equal. Miller Park in Milwaukee, along with Al Raboski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Roof is closed. It's chilly outside. And another crowd of well over 30,000 expected here today. Let's take a look at Mike Matheny's lineup. And Mike trying to go to 3-1 this year. Rafael Furcal will lead it off, followed by Tyler Green, his first start. Then Matt Holliday off to a slow start. Beltran, Freese, and Carpenter. Cruz, Robinson, and Lynn. And the Cardinals face the crafty lefty, Randy Wolf.
Well, that's it. You know, he doesn't throw particularly hard, and maybe most noted for some of his slow curveballs. And yesterday's starter, Jack Grinkery, have a little contest who could throw it the slowest. And they can get it up there about at 65, 66 miles an hour.
Randy Wolf, 8 years with the Phillies. Then he's with the Dodgers, 2 stints with them. San Diego, Houston, and now in his 3rd season with Milwaukee. Rafael Furcal off to a good start. 1 ball, 1 strike. Randy Wolf at times has had problems with first innings in his career. As you get a look at Furcal last year, the 87 games, but Randy Wolf, they say he gets a little bit out of whack. The adrenaline is pumping in that first inning. A lot of times pitches are up, and what he does in his bullpen, getting loose, doesn't translate to what he needs to do in the first inning.
He's kind of a fly ball pitcher, but a lot of times he likes to get you up chasing pitches that are up. Then he'll change the eye angle by throwing his off-speed pitches down. Now, he doesn't have the stuff that he can really, if he doesn't have good command or control, that he can throw it, by you.
Furcal up the middle, off the bag, and a base hit as the ball travels into right field. Great start right now for Furcal after a very poor spring. Let's take a look at the defense for Milwaukee. They hope this is much improved over a year ago. Braun, Morgan, and Hart in the outfield. Ramirez, Gonzalez, he's a slick fielder at short. Weeks and Gamble on the right side. George Kataris is behind the plate. And he and Randy Wolf are best friends. And so Ron Renicky, during spring training, had Lucroy catching Randy Wolf an awful lot because, for the most part, Kataris is the catcher for Randy Wolf just about every 5th day.
Well, that's it. Oh, but you don't want to get so dependent on one guy. Kataris has an injury. You know, you'd like to have a little more camaraderie, or you'd like to have a little more familiarity between your catcher and pitcher.
The emergency catcher for Milwaukee is Cesar Izturis, who actually caught some bullpens during spring training. Quickly 0-2 on Tyler Green, getting his first start today.
Just hope Tyler can just relax and let his really immense talent just showcase itself here at this level. Nobody denies He by far is the best athlete of the Cardinals.
And just like that, 3 pitches, he strikes out. First out recorded and the first strikeout for Randy Wolf.
You can see this pitch is where Randy wants the ball. Wants it inside, but he wants it up there just to tie him up. Get hitters to chase that little cutter out of the strike zone.
The Chevy Fox Tracks. Here's Matt Holliday. Off to a slow start. 1 hit thus far, and that hit home run in game 1 of this series. Fights it off, little fly ball into right center, and it gets down past Morgan. For call on his way to third. Oquendo will wave him in. Here comes a relay to the plate. Throw is high, he's safe, and Holliday picks up the RBI, and it's 1-0 Cardinals.
Jose Oquendo, you just love his aggressiveness as a third base coach. Would have been very easy with just 1 out to have runners at second and third. But for Kyle, he's close to second base. Now he sees it gets down. He thought for a minute that might be a spear line drive by Morgan, but he comes around. A high throw over the head of Kataris allows Matt Holliday to go over to third.
Cardinals right fielder Carlos Beltran will dig in. 1-0 St. Louis. Carlos is 4 for 13, his home run in game 1 of the series, and interesting to see. Here we are in the first inning, Al, first week of the season, and the infield is drawn in.
Yeah, I just don't understand that. You know, you would think with Lance Lynn on the mound, they don't know that much about him. There'd be some runs being scored.
Pays off here. Gonzalez makes the play on the backhand, and staying put at third, it's Matt Holliday.
Playing the infield in this early invites a big inning. A little breaking ball, a little tapper, looks the runner back, and then an easy throw over to first base.
Here's David Freese. What a start he's off to. Hitting .500. Home run, 5 RBIs. 7 for 14. He's picked up right where he left off the postseason. And this is where he has been terrific in his career. He has been a money player, albeit brief, but at times when he's had 2 outs and runners in scoring position. He hit .364 in this spot last year. For his career, he's hit .322.
And a lot of times it's his first at bat in a game that he'll drive in runs. He's also had success against Randy Wolf.
Refers to the man right there down at third. Matt Holliday is his big brother, guy that's been a mentor for him. Hit sharply to short. Gonzalez gathers it and makes the play. Holliday is stranded, but he's given the Cardinals an early lead on this Easter Sunday. The Cardinals with a pair of hits in the top of the first, and they grabbed an early 1-0 lead. We're at Miller Park, and let's take a look at Ron Renicke's lineup for this Milwaukee squad, minus Prince Fielder, but they're expecting big things again this year with Weeks healthy, Morgan and Braun. Then you have Ramirez, Hart, and Gamel, Gonzalez, Kataris, and Randy Wolf. Big right-hander Lance Lynn making his season debut.
There's no way to replace Chris Carpenter, but I think we both feel very comfortable with Lance Lynn. You are not going to scare him off that mound. Big man, and he just kind of likes to go out there and compete. He's done a marvelous job facing right-handed batters, only batting .187 off the big righty.
Let's take a look at the defense, and it's brought to you by Dobbs. Great to have Dobbs back with us as a sponsor for the 2012 season. Some changes in this lineup. As you see, Shane Robinson is in center, Green at second, and Tony Cruz gets his first start behind the plate. And again, that's brought to you by Dobbs. Look at Mike Matheny. You know, Sunday afternoons, a lot of times Tony La Russa. Over 16 years, we saw unique lineups along the way, and we get the first different looking lineup for Mike Matheny here this afternoon.
Well, it's not unusual for managers to do this, kind of have their Sunday squad. But part of the reasoning is that, at some point you're going to need those guys that are on the bench, and you better get them ready for those assignments.
Here's Ricky Weeks. Ricky Weeks, the second overall pick by Milwaukee in 2003, was not drafted out of high school. He only had 2 offers for college baseball to George Washington and Southern University. He's a great athlete, very good speed. Went to Southern University and became the Golden Spikes Award winner, top college player, and he's a pretty good pro too.
And I assume that it's his brother that's playing for Oakland.
Correct.
Who many people believe is better than he is.
Brother went to the University of Miami.
Ricky, an all-star last year, 20 home runs.
Hits it out of play, and it's 2-2.
When we first saw Ricky Weeks come to the big leagues, he was really an offensive player, defensive liability. His defense has not cut up with his offense, but his offense has really become an outstanding offensive player.
2-2 the count. Matter of fact, his brother homered yesterday. Got him. Strikeout for Lynn to start the season.
Lance, just like his ability, a couple pitches, Ricky looked awkward swinging, and here he just misses on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball down and in. Just handcuffs him, couldn't pull the trigger.
Nyjer Morgan. We saw him on Friday as a pinch hitter. Looks like he'll split time in center field with Carlos Gomez. He's now going by the name Tony Hush. Not T. Push. Hush. As in shh, quiet.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to Nyjer Morgan. In the air, looping down the left field line, and a foul ball. Let's take a look at the delivery here of Lance Lynn. Super slow-mo brought to you by Plaza Tire Service.
See that lifts the front leg up high, and everything kind of comes together with his wind-up. Allows his arm to catch up to where he can explode towards the hitter.
Morgan was the kind of guy that gave their fan base inside that dugout and clubhouse a real jolt, if you will. He has fun when he plays, but he mentioned Albert Pujols last year. He called him Alberta. Cardinals then make it to postseason play and go win the World Series. So now he's Tony Hush, and he's out number 2 here in the first. Brings in Ryan Braun.
Applause for the last season's National League MVP, and he should expect the opposite when he goes on the road.
Beginning tomorrow afternoon, they'll be at Wrigley Field. The Cardinals will play tomorrow night in Cincinnati. First pitch is a foul ball to Braun, 95 miles an hour. He was hitless in game 1 of the series. A couple of hits yesterday, and they say he really turned it on at the end of spring. Got off to a slow start. This is the face of their franchise, undoubtedly. And he picks up a base hit into right field.
No doubt he can hit. And 2-out singles, that's okay. You want him to throw strikes. You want him to hit his way on. Very little front leg movement.
Now, some people wondered about Ramirez would there be a Wrigley Field effect with him? He's a .329 hitter the last 3 years with the Cubs at home at Wrigley Field, but just .246 on the road. And how would that translate to playing outside of Wrigley? And you know, he's not a young man anymore in terms of baseball. He's 33.
I think if he wants to play, he's going to do the job. You know, he's proven that when he was with the Cubs, he was one of the better hitters, and Wainwright was saying he's his nemesis. Big lead by Braun, so it's good that Lance Lynn pays a little attention to him.
Matter of fact, he's topped 100 RBIs 6 different seasons. He's hit at least 25 home runs 9 times. It's pretty good.
Right.
We've talked a lot this weekend about the effect of Prince Fielder not being in this lineup, what it means to everybody else, in particular Braun in this lineup. Well, Ramirez has now played, if you include today, a full season against St. Louis, and this is what he's done. 28 home runs. He's driven in 107 and hit an even 300.
The Cardinals, particularly last year and last couple of years, they really have done a good job of containing Braun and Fielder.
Got him. This time they pick him off, so Braun is picked off. That leaves Ramirez standing at the plate. It's 1-0 after an inning of play. This coming Wednesday at Busch Stadium, the Tigers and Fighting Illini. It's a baseball game, and you can take it in at Busch Stadium, Cardinals.com, or call 314-345-9000. Let's go back to the pickoff of Ryan Braun.
Well, he had a big lean. You see him leaning, and there's a quick tag applied by Carpenter. No doubt about it, he's out. You kind of wonder why he had such a big lead with a RBI man at the plate. Also, usually when a guy is as big as Lance Lynn, 6'5", 250, they're usually a little slow to the plate. Maybe don't have quite the quickness in the feet to have a good pickoff move, but that wasn't Lance Lynn.
First start for Matt Carpenter against a lefty, and he skies one into left. Ryan Braun is over, makes the catch, 1 away.
Sometimes you will start a left-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher and kind of take away that his changeup or slow breaking ball.
And is that what we are seeing here?
A little bit, you know, and also Berkman was hitting under 100 against Randy Wolf, so a perfect time to give him a little time off.
Berkman 3 for 32 in his career against Randy Wolf, and here's Tony Cruz. Mike Matheny talked about the decision to keep Tony Cruz and send down Brian Anderson as the toughest spot to figure out during spring training, and the hardest cut to make was Anderson. Did nothing to not make the club. He did a good job. Hit around 400. Defensively, he was okay.
And I think the one thing is Tony Cruz proved to you that a little better handling the pitching staff, and he did a nice job as a pinch hitter last season.
Into shallow right, 2 away. Talking with Mike Matheny today, and he said, I'm still just trying to get used to little things, setting up some of the travel, meaning when to have a bus leave or how you approach the media, where do you do it, those kind of things as far as talking to the media. Just, you know, things as a player, he said, I just never even thought about, but as a manager, you've got to do it.
I would say he's passing with flying colors.
He said he's really enjoyed it. Here's Shane Robinson, and he yanks it down the left field line. It's hooking and a foul ball. Shane Robinson, a 27-year-old from Tampa, Florida, who played at Jesuit High School, same high school as Lou Piniella, and the retired Shane Robinson's number. He was a 4-year letter winner in baseball and football. noted for his defense, his speed. And last year, 6 games into the season, he suffered a fractured cheekbone in a collision with Andrew Brown, and he missed 3 months. Eventually made his way to St. Louis.
It's one of those kind of off the radar screen because of the injury, but it was nice to see him get rewarded.
And he pulls it foul again.
He's one of 3 rookies that are on the ball club right now.
Cardinals still hoping for a quick recovery from Alan Craig and Skip Schumacher. We'll know more on those two when we get back to St. Louis on Thursday. Here's a 2-2 pitch.
And we'll see them on Friday. As you know, they'll be flying in for opening ceremonies. Cardinals weekend should be a lot of fun against the Cubbies. Always the best pageantry in all of baseball, opening day ceremonies in St. Louis.
The 2-2 up the middle and a base hit for Robinson. It brings in Lance Lynn. Last time we saw Lance, he was pitching out of the bullpen in postseason play.
Dan, we talked about he'd made 2 starts last season. Came up from the minor leagues, made 2 starts, went 5 innings in each of them. But because of what he did in that bullpen, you just know his confidence is so much greater right now. And you don't mind him being used as a 5th starter, but you sure like him in the 8th inning too.
I love him late innings. And they were talking about before his oblique injury last year, and you saw the weak swing, but they were talking about him potentially being the closer.
Sure.
Prior to Jason Mott getting that assignment. Lynn strikes out. 2 on the afternoon for Randy Wolf. Lance Lynn back to work when we come back. Baseball is brought to you by MyKiaSt.Louis.com. Love bacon? Well, try the new BLT cheeseburger combo right now at Jack in the Box for just $4.99 plus tax. And by the new wireless receiver from AT&T Uverse. Visit AT&T.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible.
We talk about Randy Wolf likes to pitch up in the zone. So instead of throwing sinkers, he has the 4-seam grip. And, you know, the one thing that I'd like to, how I was taught, was to put the fingers together and try and get a little movement with that 4-seamer. You spread them out a little bit. Okay, maybe you can throw it up there, but it straightens out. But he's trying to throw that pitch up above the strikeout or the strike zone and get hitters to chase it.
Remember, Al, we had, as you get a look at Ramirez again, we had pitching coach Derek Lilliquist on one of our spring training games, and I asked him about, you know, will he throw harder as a starter or as a reliever? It seems like he was able to let it go late innings, knowing that he might only be in there for an out or 3 or 4 outs, as opposed to what you see here, where you hope he goes deep into a game. And in his opinion, he said that's a myth. He said if Lance Lynn is throwing hard, he should be throwing hard starting, relieving, whatever the case may be.
I agree with that. You know, you don't want to, just because you're trying to get more outs, you don't have to save anything. That's usually how you get in trouble.
Old school way of bringing a guy into a starting rotation. We're seeing that here with Lance Lynn, from the bullpen to the rotation.
Well, it's not exactly classic, because if it'd be classic, it would be 2 years removed or 2 years down the road of having him in the bullpen and then giving him the opportunity to start.
Saw that with Wainwright. He moved into the starting rotation after closing and working in the bullpen 2006. The 2-2 pitch, and a swing and a miss. Strikeout number 2 for Lance Lynn.
Lance Lane, big guy, kind of explodes towards the plate. All that movement coming there and down and in. And I'm sure Adam Wainwright is saying, how did you do that? Adam made 2 bad pitches yesterday. One to Corey Hart in a monster blast, and one to Ramirez that hit a double off the wall. And that run came around to score for him.
Corey Hart is going to make everybody a believer that you don't need spring training. He played in a total of 2 games in spring training. He had surgery on his knee. He is yet to play a full game, whether in spring or at the start of this season. And he's got a couple of home runs and 3 RBIs already.
The 2 games that he played in were in Arizona. And I guess, after, at the Arizona Diamondbacks park. So it wasn't really even a spring training park.
He is 6'6". He's a big guy. Was noted as a terrific high school basketball player coming out of the state of Kentucky. Obviously chose and stuck with baseball. The longest tenured Brewer now.
I just keep on thinking he's kind of the unsung hero. That a lot of guys in that lineup were getting all the accolades, but there was Mr. Consistency. And he takes that helmet off. He looks like Chewbacca.
9th season now in Milwaukee. There's a breaking ball. Nice play for Kyle to his left and takes the hit away from Corey Hart. You didn't see that play made a lot of times early on last season.
Not at all. And Cardinals by design, went against the book of winning games with pitching and defense. Went for a little more offense with Terrio at shortstop and sacrificed, and it ended up to hurt them. And when they made the trade to go for the defense, acquire Foucault, Terrio ended up being a better second baseman than a shortstop. Did he get picked up by anybody?
He was with San Francisco. Terrio.
Yeah.
They just released Fontenot.
I saw that.
Those 2 were back together.
Yeah, they were together at LSU, winning a national championship.
Here's a 0-1 pitch to Matt Gamble. Hitting .250, no homers, no RBIs.
Been waiting a while for Gamble to come through, live up to his billing as a minor leaguer.
Last year, Doug Melvin saw that Gamble came into spring training out of shape, so he wasn't going to make the club, and then they shifted Gamble from third base to first base, and pretty much that was the first real signal that Prince Fielder was not coming back. And Gamble strikes out. 3 on the afternoon for Lynn. Top of the lineup coming up for St. Louis. 1-0 on this Easter Sunday. Playoff matchups announced throughout the National Hockey League, and the Blues will open up on Thursday night. And the Blues are back in the playoffs. You could go to a game with the Fox Sports Midwest girls. Like the girls on Facebook for a chance to go to a game with Amy or Kayla. If you already like their Facebook page, click on Go to the Playoffs tabs to enter, and head to Facebook now for your chance to head to Scott Trade Center. Jim Hayes has joined us here for the 3rd inning, and here's Rafael Furcal, who singled his first time up. Nice to see you back, James. How are you?
Great to be with you guys. It's great to be back.
You were busy with the hockey season. That team is winning, and hopefully we can say the same about this Cardinals team. And you were around this team in spring training, and one of the big storylines was Adam Wainwright coming back, and he pitched yesterday. It had been 563 days since his Tommy John surgery. It was 88 pitches for Wainwright. I talked to the medical staff. He showed up today. He felt great, and by all accounts, he's set to go for his next start.
We had him on the pregame show, and he did say he felt great. Not that happy with the result. Obviously, the Cardinals not winning his start, but he felt the fact that he got through it and did feel good was a positive. Did some things where he felt positive.
Gamble stays with it. Wolf is at the bag, and they just get Rafael Furcal.
The things he wasn't happy with, he felt like he got behind in some counts. That cost him.
Little breaking ball right there, a little squibber. Gamble misses it, and then the throw over, and he missed the bag. Good way to turn the ankle or get stepped on, but Randy appears to be okay.
Al, what did you think of Wainwright's performance?
I thought, first of all, you know, he wins that game more times than not. He just was up against a very hot Greinke, who pitched outstanding. But, you know, his velocity, I think, will increase. As you do that, you know, maybe you'll have the control of the counts a little bit better. But there is no reason for me to be worried about him at all.
And he did say the velocity is something that he feels will improve, not quite where he hopes it'll be right now, but he thinks it'll get there. He also says, you know, he doesn't set goals, but one goal he has set for himself this season is to make every start. And when you hear him say that, you got to feel good about the Cardinal chances.
So Wainwright is back, and that's why a lot of the so-called experts, Al, looked at the Cardinals and said, yeah, you lose some firepower in the lineup, obviously, with Albert gone, but you do pick up a potential Cy Young candidate in Adam Wainwright.
Well, I think there's potentially this team has a chance to be better than it was last year. And a lot of it has to do with Adam Wainwright. Of course, a quicker recovery from Carpenter would sure help that scenario.
Misses on the inside corner. This is Tyler Green, who struck out on 3 pitches first time up, 2-2, and Tyler's trying to solidify his spot, Jim, at the Major League club.
You know, his numbers at AAA, as you guys have talked about, really outstanding as he gets plunked in the foot. And he said that adjustment to the Major League, there's so much to learn. He's trying to learn it. He's trying to take the lessons learned and translate it into the field. And he said at times last year he caught himself overthinking. And he now has to trust that the lessons were learned and he's going to play baseball. He said he's not going to overthink. He's going to try to block out a lot of stuff and try to have some fun.
I think that statement itself is overthinking. I mean, it's the same game you play at AAA, same game you play in your backyard. Just get more people watching. Just sit down and relax and just let your natural instincts take over.
Here's Holiday, who picked up an RBI double in the first inning, now with 2 ribbies on the young year. See if the Cardinals want to do some running here, but the pickoff move, talking with some of the coaches of Randy Wolf, is above average, so he'll keep those base stealers at bay.
A lot of good base stealers will tell you, once you find the little secret to a left-hander and the secret to his release point, they actually find it easier to steal off a left-handed pitcher. But sometimes maybe finding that little trick is different. He led the club with 11 steals and spent half the year at AAA.
58 games, Al, he played in. Tyler Green last year and had 11 steals. The Cardinals, as a team, had just 57.
I don't think at the major league level, I think he's 16 for 16 in
Correct.
stolen bases.
That's right.
So he's never been thrown out. Now, we've seen him hit a ball in the upper deck at Busch Stadium. We've seen him have that great speed. You know, you talk to anybody associated with the ball club, they'll say he's the best athlete on the club.
Brings so much offensively if he can take the ball and run with it at second base. But, you know, Descalso has been so outstanding for the Cardinals, it's obviously a tough choice for him.
Well, he made another dazzling play in yesterday's game, Daniel Descalso. And, you know, Mike Matheny, I think he wanted Tyler Green to take over the spot. And then you use Descalso as a super sub, but it's almost Daniel's played so well, he just can't take him out of the lineup. Unless it's like a day like today to try and give him a little breather and to give some bats to guys that haven't played much.
Last time the Cardinals were in the top half of stolen bases in the league was in 2005. They were second lowest last year in baseball. Holiday punched out. Third strikeout for Randy Wolf.
Randy likes to run the ball in on right-handed batters, a little cutter. And look, you can see why there's a legitimate gripe with Holiday. So that ball looked like on Fox Tracks, about 6 inches inside.
Fox Tracks brought to you by the Missouri Lottery. Here's Beltran. The infield was drawn in his first time up with a runner at third and 1 out. grounded out to short. He's in right field again today. If he can stay healthy, this lineup is going to be very good.
The first game here, a home run and a stolen base, a good sign that his knees are feeling good. He said after the game he feels in very good health, and as you say, if he can keep that up, what a bonus for this team.
2 balls and no strikes on the switch hitter. Hits it sharply into left field for a base hit. Al, I don't know about you, but we were in New York, and the thing that stood out to me, and we saw his final series, which was against the Cardinals wearing a Mets uniform, the ball just jumps off his bat still. Follow the Cardinals with MLB.com at Bat 12 for your iPhone. Text 31826 or visit Cardinals.com for details.
Well, there's no doubt that Beltran is an elite player when he's healthy. And, you know, now he had last year to recover from the knee surgery. You know, the longer you go, the better that issue will be. The more he'll be able to, on occasion, play center field, steal a base for you. He's never going to be the base stealer he was when he was much younger, but he still can go from first to third.
First pitch to David Freese, a strike. Freese grounded out to short. Took a good play by Gonzalez to take the hit and RBI away, and that's why they picked up that shortstop, Alex Gonzalez, to shore up the defense here with Milwaukee.
Beltran is going to be a contributor if he's healthy, but having a healthy David Freese for more than 100 games, everybody picks up a little pace, and then you make up for that production you lose in the bat from Albert Pujols.
David was saying before the game that a lot has been made of his injuries, and rightfully so, and he said last year when he had the broken hand and missed time, he said it was a blessing in disguise. He said my ankles then could really heal up, and remember he's had surgery on both. So when he got into the late season and postseason play, he said I may have been a little bit more fresh than others.
Oh, most definitely. And that's the healthy way to look at injuries. You know, always find the silver lining. And I had a doctor tell me that David Freese is, you know, under 30, but playing with about 60-year-old ankles.
28-year-old. And Freese late on that swing and strikes out. The Cardinals strand 2. Gonzalez, Contreras, and Wolf coming up as we move to the bottom of the third. If you have a question for us, go to carsoup.com/Cardinals and send us your email the booth questions. carsoup.com/Cardinals. Jim Hayes, Al Raboski, Dan McLaughlin. Hope you're enjoying your Easter Sunday wherever you may be. It's 1-0 St. Louis. Rubber game between Milwaukee and the Cardinals. We've talked about this being a very heated rivalry. On the field, with the players, through the press, whatever the case may be. And Jim, let's go back on the field, but a guy that's not in uniform is now part of this rivalry.
Yeah, new addition to it. His name is Justin Scott. He's a new director of grounds for the Brewers. He spent 6 years with the Royals on their grounds crew. The thing is, he's a St. Louisan, SLU High and Missouri graduate, grew up a Cardinal fan. He says now he's a Brewer fan.
I would, knowing he was from SLU, I wouldn't have let you talk about that.
He also said that the challenges that you guys have talked about with the sun and the shadows with this stadium, he's leaned on a friend of his, Bill Finley, for some help on how to tackle this problem, and they're on the phone quite a bit. So you have St. Louis helping Milwaukee in a sense.
And you'll see a little different look at Busch Stadium this year. They have replaced all of the warning track around the field. It was getting really rough on some of the players, so if you'd see some of those diving catches, you know, the rocks, if you will, would get stuck in the knees or the elbows of the players. So they've changed that. Also, the infield grass is a little bit different. I'm sure Bill wasn't too busy after that U2 concert a year ago. Wasn't that hard to do, was it, Al?
No. Milwaukee has replaced their entire playing surface. And I was talking with some of the coaches for Milwaukee, and they find it much better playing surface than it was a year ago.
Lance Lynn off to a good start this far with 3 strikeouts. He's allowed 1 base hit. That was to Ryan Braun, and then he was picked off. 2-2 on the shortstop, Alex Gonzalez.
Gonzalez looking for his first hit in the series, first hit for his new ball club.
Coming off a fine spring, he was arguably their best offensive player in spring.
He hit 473 with 5 home runs. A little surprising, isn't it? A team leading 16 RBIs.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. Popped up to the right side. Matt Carpenter with room and makes the catch. Matt Carpenter played 2 years first base at TCU. Then they shifted him over his junior year to third base. And with the advice of John Mabry this offseason and Mike Matheny, they said learn the outfield. And his dad is a high school coach in Texas, coached him through grade school and high school. And so Carpenter was in the outfield shagging fly balls with the high school team this offseason and made the club after a very fine spring at the plate.
Mike Matheny says he also enjoys hitting against lefties, actually has numbers some years in the minors better than against right-handers. So they were very comfortable putting him into the starting lineup today.
The one thing everyone's so pleased with Carpenter about is now he's driving the ball than just, a year ago was just flares and quails. Now he's up there like a man and swinging with authority with good results.
You guys were talking about the added velocity that Lance Lynn had found coming out of the bullpen. And I know you were talking about pacing. I asked Derek Lilliquist about that, and he said that can be a trap for guys that go from the bullpen into the starting rotation. If you start thinking about it and you're not the same pitcher, you're going to find trouble.
Well, it's kind of like like you're setting up a hitter and you go, okay, I'm going to throw this pitch, that pitch, then I'll get him out with this pitch. Well, you never get to that pitch because you didn't have 100% behind thought process behind pitch 1 and 2.
Slowly hit, and Lynn will tag out Gutierrez for the out. And there's 2 away, and it brings in Randy Wolf. I know it's only been a small sample size for you, Jim, but Tony TV as compared to Mike Matheny TV.
It's a little different.
How's it been?
Which way?
You know, Tony didn't react well to losses, so it made for some drama in the post game. But I think Mike will go about most things very much the same as Tony does, save batting the pitcher 8th. And maybe a little bit more courtesy in the post-game get-together.
Maybe. And let me just say this. Mike Matheny is going to take losses just as hard.
I said the word courtesy.
He will take them just as hard, but he will do his job and realizes you have one to do also.
And as a player, Mike Matheny was always a guy that made himself available, even if things didn't go well during the game. So I think he understands a little bit about what he faces.
Remember what he said to us, Jim? He said, I was kind of, this is before the game today, he said, I was kind of the go-to guy. When there were losses and very tough losses, I was one of the players that would speak on behalf of the club, on behalf of the players. So he said, it's not like this is something foreign to me dealing with the media. And he said, I was warned by anybody that has ever managed before, the media is something you're going to have to get used to. And in his opinion, he said it really hasn't been that big a deal. He said it's been pretty easy to deal with.
Well, the season's young.
He also said that too.
Season's young, but I think working with Fox the last couple of years, he got a little taste of it and realizes what it's about and goes in with a fresher idea.
And the truth is with Tony La Russa, it was never personal. Some of the post-game drama wasn't personal, so no harm, no foul.
Not sure Al would agree with all that, but oh, come on, Al.
Let him enjoy his Easter.
Strikeout for Lance Lynn, and strikeout number 4 for Lance.
You already count on my friends at Schnucks for fresh produce, top quality meats, and seafood. How about the fresh baked goods and prepared foods? Nobody better than Schnucks. But why not one-stop shopping for all your mealtime and household needs, and save a trip to the pharmacy at Schnucks? They have 65 convenient pharmacies throughout the St. Louis area, and there's a Schnucks pharmacy there to serve you. I bet you don't even know about Schnucks' free prescription drug program for generic oral antibiotics, and you can get up to a 21-day supply. As part of the Health and Wellness Initiative, we have a responsibility to help improve the health of our customers and the community we serve. These antibiotics represent more than 30 of the most popular strengths and dosage forms, including tablets, capsules, and liquids. Schnucks pharmacies are committed to saving you money and serving your needs while making healthcare and medicines more accessible to customers in approximately 100 locations. Schnucks, my friends, the friendliest store in town.
First pitch is a strike to Matt Carpenter. We're underway here in the 4th. One ball, one strike.
And a lot of times people just, put way too much into lefty-lefty matchups, righty-righty matchups. Pitcher has to make a good pitch. If he makes a good pitch, he's got a good chance of getting you out. But if it's a lefty-lefty like this, Carpenter against Wolf, and he makes a bad pitch, Carpenter's got just as much chance to drive the ball.
Carpenter, first time up, flied out to left. Tony Cruz on deck, and then Shane Robinson. The 2-2 pitch. Wolf with strikeout number 5.
Went up the ladder. Even though he got a low target away, but he will get a lot of guys to swing at that pitch. Up there, you see it, it's eye level, but very, very difficult to do anything with it other than a pop-up or a swing and miss.
Tony Cruz fly to right, first time up, 0 for 1. Just joining us, Cardinals on a Matt Holliday double back in the first, lead it 1-0. Cardinals had to figure out a way to give Molina a day off, and it was either this afternoon or Wednesday, as Cruz bounces one to short. 2 outs.
Tony Cruz very familiar with Lance Lynn, as he caught many of his starts when they were at Memphis.
Matchups beginning tomorrow. Jake Westbrook gets his first start of the season against Homer Bailey. Tuesday, Loesch and Leak, and then Wednesday, Garcia and Cueto.
I'm looking forward to seeing Westbrook. Great spring, lost about 20 pounds. All of a sudden, you got that sinker working in the right direction. And one of the biggest things is not only was he getting the sinking action, but he wasn't walking anybody. That was probably the biggest problem he had a year ago, was the walks.
Had a 1.50 ERA in 24 innings this spring. Only 12 hits allowed the entire spring.
And 57 miles an hour on that last curveball. Mentioned that Randy Wolf and Greinke have kind of a contest. Who could throw the slowest breaking ball?
Robinson hits it down the left field line, but out in front and pulls it foul.
I don't know about this, but Randy was estimating that you have to throw a pitch about 55 miles an hour in order just to get it to 60 feet 6 inches. So they're trying to see how slow they can get a ball up there.
Greinke was fantastic yesterday.
Sometimes you just got to, compliment the opposition, starting pitcher.
He's now 12-0 at home as a Brewer. That's the longest winning streak at home by any Milwaukee Brewer. History of their organization. His ERA is under 3 at this ballpark. Inside to Robinson. And it's 2-2.
But if he has kind of the same numbers Greinke had on the road last year, how much is that going to hurt him in free agency?
Popped up and out of play. This is the first of 5 series between St. Louis and Milwaukee. 15 games this year. They split last year 9-9. The Cardinals come in 13 games above 500 at this ballpark and lead the overall series. The 2-2 is a base hit for Robinson. His second hit of the afternoon. First hit for the Cardinals since his single back in the second.
Just pulls it through on the left side. Little guy takes a big swing, and Ramirez can't get near it.
And at least the Cardinals get Lance Lynn through the lineup.
Lance in his career is 0 for 5, but just get the feeling if he ever connected with one.
Takes a pretty healthy rip.
Well, he does, and you don't like to see him chase that ball up there.
6'5", 250 pounds, 24 years of age, from Indiana. Quickly, 0-2.
I think I could make this statement for both of us. We're really fans of his.
Oh yeah, for sure. Quiet, but a very good guy. Works hard. Teammates enjoy being around him. And clearly had a huge role in what took place last year.
Now we kind of felt like when Tony would never anoint Mott as the closer, that a lot of times
Lynn into right with a base hit.
On a breaking ball too, but it was a hanger, and he just drops it into right field. But kind of felt like Tony was always waiting for Lance Lynn to get off the disabled list with that oblique strain, and then he was going to audition him as the closer. And because Mott did so well at the end, and it took so long, took the postseason before Lynn came off the disabled list, he became primarily the 8th inning man.
First major league hit, so they'll throw that in, as they did for Komatsu in game 1 of the series here against Milwaukee. There you see Chris Maloney, the first base coach, there with Lance Lynn. And Chris's dad is Con Maloney. He's watching today, and the former owner of the Jackson Generals of the Texas League. Owned that for 20 years, and then his dad sold it to Nolan Ryan. Here's Rafael Furcal, who's 1 for 2. A single, run scored, the only run. Two balls and 1 strike.
Andy Wolf is kind of what you call sneaky fast. Kind of throws so many off-speed pitches. When he does rear back and throws a good fastball, it appears a lot quicker than the gun reading.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Throw that curveball, throw the cutter coming in, change up.
Trying to pick up his second strikeout of the inning, and number 6 of the afternoon. Runners off with the next pitch. Racal already on the young season with 8 base hits.
Probably was more worried about Racal than any other Cardinal coming out of spring training. So it's great to see him with a quick start. And pitchers no running that count full with 2 outs so the runners can get a start.
There they go. And it's foul.
Cutter in on the hands.
Racal is the 6th different opening day shortstop in 6 seasons for the Cardinals.
Kind of been a revolving door, and
basically
sometimes
going back
think
to
of
Ozzie.
second base too.
Yeah. The 3-2. Racal rips it foul. Had Ryan Theriot and Brendan Ryan, and Tyler Green, Isturis, who's now with Milwaukee, David Eckstein,
Khalil Green. You know, then even we had Royce Clayton 1 year, Ozzie's last year. So you're really right about that revolving door there.
Racal out to left. That's a base hit. Here comes Robinson. He will score, and it's 2-0 Cardinals. The second base hit for Racal.
3 for 4 now as a right-handed batter. Racal. Boy, Robinson's probably going to score, but with the 3-2 pitch and an early head start, just a little breaking ball out there. Braun has to go a couple steps to his left and no throw.
Green, little floater to short. And he is 0 for 2. Cardinals will strand 2. They've left 6 on today, but they have a 2-run lead. Next Sunday, the Cardinals and the Cubs, and all fans with a ticket have the opportunity to receive and display a 3x5 replica of the World Championship pennant flag. That'll be raised in center field at Busch Stadium. So the replica flag is next Sunday as Racal has made it a 2-0 lead. We get a lot of questions about opening day tickets, and what happens is the visiting team many times will turn tickets back in. There are tickets as we speak being turned back in. So there are chances, if you check at Cardinals.com, to see those opening day tickets. And also the opening day pack is available. And also next Sunday we should remind fans, Al, because we have a lot of fans that come in, as you well know, from outside the metro area and make a weekend of it. A lot of times the Sunday game against the Cubs is going to be turned into the Sunday night game. That is not the case. So that start time will not change at 1:15, and still good seats remaining for next Sunday, and you can get your tickets at Cardinals.com.
And isn't that the World Series ring replica day?
Saturday.
Saturday is?
Saturday will be the ring, and then Sunday is the flag.
The flag, okay. Saturday also will be the day the Cardinal players will get their rings. So everyone come out and really celebrate that afternoon.
And there's a strike to the top of the lineup, and Ricky Weeks, who was called out on strikes back in the first. One ball, one strike on Ricky Weeks. Had 17 home runs before the All-Star break last year. Then was hurt, gruesome ankle injury that carried over into the postseason. Hit just 146 in the playoffs, but they love his toughness. They talk about a famous play in which he was hit by a 94-mile-an-hour fastball in the face, stayed in the game, played the next day. Ron Renicky actually has a picture of that hanging in his office. He says the idea is I want other players to see this, to remind them of the toughness, the leadership of Weeks, and stay in games, play tough. You have to admire that. The 2-2. Here's a high fly ball out to left. Holiday under it for the first down. So again, Fox Sports Midwest excited to bring you Blues playoff hockey, and the Blues will open the first round Thursday at Scottrade Center, and we will be outside the Scottrade Center before the first home game of each series. Let's hope that's a lot of those, with rallies to get you ready for the game. Blues playoff action back on Fox Sports Midwest. San Jose, the opponent. That's this Thursday. San Jose Shark fan is at the plate, and that's Nyjer Morgan. He actually skated with the Sharks this offseason. He's an interesting story. You take away, all the things that you hear about, his alter ego and whatnot, but he dropped out of high school and moved to Canada to play junior hockey. And he actually moved very close to the professional ranks and came back home. He's from the Bay Area. He said he was in the seats. He watched Barry Bonds and he said, this is the sport I got to play. Wanted to be like Bonds in many ways. So that was his idol, and went back to baseball. Slaps it, but right at the third baseman, David Freese. He was a teammate of the Blues' Barrett Jackmans, was Nyjer Morgan.
I thought Barrett said he wasn't quite the hockey player he thinks he is.
Spoken like a true hockey player.
Slicing away from David, but easy play for him.
Always find it interesting to see how you defend power hitters outside of the fact that you play deep, but where do you play them? And in this case, the Cardinals playing Braun straight up. Now, Ryan Braun hit 33 home runs last year, and 16 of those were at this ballpark, but half of those were to right center. So he's got very good power to all fields.
This could be an explosive ballpark, and Cardinals hit home runs on opening day. Milwaukee hit home runs yesterday.
Two and 0. Ryan Braun, the Rookie of the Year in '07. MVP last year as he picked up 20 of the 32 first place votes. Matt Kemp was second. Time is called. And Al, coming into the season, Braun had played 729 major league games. The exception of 8 of those games, Prince Fielder was hitting behind him.
Oh, that's going to be a big difference to see how clubs attack him with, protection behind him. I think Ramirez is a pretty good alternative. It's almost like you got the double right-handers instead of having a right-hander and then a left-hander. Ramirez has been a very good RBI man, and I expect him to have a good season this year. Or maybe that's what, what was Kemp's protection? The difference was that they didn't, LA didn't win and the Milwaukee did.
Left it into deep center field. At the track, it's at the wall and caught. Right at that 400-foot sign. Just a long out. 2-0 as we head to the 5th. These are the no-win teams so far. Boston, their pitching staff with an ERA that's over 8 so far. If you're a Cubs fan, well, the fans have voted. On a local poll, 100% said they would not make the playoffs. That was over the weekend. Thank you very much. So those are the no-win teams so far in Major League Baseball.
Remember, one time it used to be a June swoon, but I guess the Cub fans right now, it's Cubs stand for completely useless by spring.
Man, oh man. Holliday taps one foul, and we're underway here in the 5th inning. Holliday with an RBI double back in the 1st and was called out on strikes in the 3rd.
Batting average is very anemic right now, but I don't think there's anybody that questions whether he won't have a typical outstanding season.
5-time All-Star, 4 Silver Sluggers. And there's quite the track record since making his debut in 2004. .315 career hitter.
I really like how he's getting more and more involved in the community.
I think the question now with him, Al, is he the face of the franchise? You know, he's the highest paid player. Obviously, he's had great success. No longer Albert Pujols. Is Matt Holliday the face of this St. Louis Cardinals team as he draws a walk?
I think it's faces. You know, I think you do that, what David Freese did in the playoffs, but then, you know, Carpenter and Wainwright, pitching-wise.
Leadoff walk to Holliday. Let's take a look at the teams that have not lost this year. Some surprises mixed in. Baltimore and New York. There's Beltran, who has singled and also grounded out.
Washington. About the explosion Detroit had yesterday behind Prince's 2 home runs. Was it 10-0?
That pitch at 67 miles an hour.
Albert finally got a base hit yesterday. So did Kobe Rasmus.
We'll see Ryan Ludwig tomorrow night in Cincinnati. Scott Rowland. And Kenny Reitz.
I was going to say, you know who I'm wanting to see.
Kenny Reitz. Kenny Reitz, the Zamboni, is back in baseball, the first base coach for Dusty Baker with the Reds.
Well, we think he is. He told me he's on probation. If he made it through spring training.
Well, then he's there. Good for him.
Dusty apparently promised that he'd make him a first base coach, and Dusty's contract is up after this year, and many people believe he'll call it quits and stay at home with his kids and watch them play.
Seems like yesterday that Darren, Dusty's son, was being picked up by JT Snow during the World Series against Anaheim as he was crossing the plate. And remember how young and little he was?
Had to make a rule.
That's right. He was a bat boy for Dusty's Giants back then.
He sprinted out there to get a bat when the play was going to be taking place at home plate, and he would have been run over.
3-2. Let's see if Mike Matheny wants to start Matt Holliday here. Not running, and Beltran hits it for a base hit into left.
And I think he wanted to, but because of the move to first Randy Wolf has, just didn't really feel comfortable.
First 2 have reached. Another opportunity for Freese. 2-hit day for Carlos. David has grounded out to short and also struck out swinging back in the 3rd.
David Freese came in with the best average against Wolf of any of the Cardinal batters. He was 6 for 17, but 0 for 2 until right now.
And that's up the middle, base hit. Here comes Holliday. He will score. Cardinals lead it 3-0. David Freese picks up RBI number 6.
David didn't hit it particularly hard. The breaking ball just kind of got in on his fist, just muscled it through the infield.
In steps Matt Carpenter. Carpenter back in 2010 was the Cardinals minor league player of the year. Only 26 years old. And he looks at a strike. Carpenter struck out swinging back in the 4th and also flied out to left.
Eric Komatsu, who was on the Cardinal bench, was the Brewers minor league player of the year in 2010.
Matt was saying to me before the game he's really gotten into a good routine with John Mabry and Mark McGwire. They've opened up his stance just a bit. And he loses the bat. Does not use or wear batting gloves.
Hopefully everyone is okay. He uses a little dirt.
He said everybody has been talking about him for years because he's tall, being a power hitter, which he really hasn't been, but they've asked him to develop a little bit more power at this level.
And you mentioned a little bit what they've tried to do is opening him up a little bit. You know, not that they want him to necessarily be a pull hitter, but to just try and, you know, the way he was closed off in his stance, you know, he just kind of punched the ball. And now by opening up a little bit, he can drive the ball, get a little of that wiry frame behind it.
Randy Wolf with runners on has slowed things up a bit. Here's a 1-2. Missed outside. Randy has been around a long time, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. What, 14, 15 years now?
Spent 8 years with the Phillies. Remember the Wolf Pack that they had there?
Yeah.
13-10 last year. He made 33 starts over 200 innings. And it was the second time that he led the Brewers staff in innings pitched. Drops down and misses low. Pitch count at 96.
They have activity in their bullpen, and they're hoping Randy can get through this inning. That might be a big task. This could be his last batter.
Strikeout number 6. You could celebrate and relive the 2011 championship. A commemorative poster, April 17th, Cardinals and Reds. That's a Tuesday night. Tuesday, Cards and Reds, April 17th, our first homestand. That's courtesy of Shelter Insurance. Also, Steve Zesch and his crew have put together the commemorative magazine, which has photos from the White House visit, behind the scenes that you won't see anywhere else. Cardinals.com/publications. Here's Tony Cruz. 0 for 2. He's flied to right and also grounded out to short.
Tony had a base hit off of Randy last season. I mentioned it before, you know, not only good handler of the pitchers, but he showed a little knack for pinch hitting. He had some success last year when he came up for the first time.
Pitch number 100 upcoming. Randy Wolf has a brother, Jim, that is a major league umpire since 1999. When Jim made his debut, Randy was in the dugout. Had a chance to work his game. The rule is that Jim cannot work the plate when Randy's on the mound, but can work the bases. The 2-1. Lifted in the air into shallow center. Who wants it? Ricky Weeks. Tom Haller and Bill Haller were the first brother combination for Major League Baseball, player and umpire.
That's probably it for Randy. Shane Robinson is 2 for 2 coming up. Maybe the fatal mistake. How do you feel? You're always going to say, I feel good, I feel good. I mean, it's almost an unfair question from the manager, isn't it?
It is. Because what if he says, take me out? What's
Yeah.
to tell you about him? Hyundai super slow-mo. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Al.
I mean, because it really is one of those things where you don't want to hear a pitcher say that, you know, I don't think I can get this guy out. And yet they always, you know, but you also say, I want you to be truthful.
Shane Robinson, a pair of base hits. 2 of the 9 against Wolf today.
Well, a lot of times that manager won't even ask you a question. You know, just, you know, you're gone. I made the decision. I want you to change my mind.
We're in the Cardinals half of the 5th. They lead it by 3 runs. There's a big looping breaking ball in for a strike.
That one's 65 miles an hour. Could throw one at 57.
Two strikes.
Cutter coming in on him.
Hold foul. Robinson's a guy, when you watch him hit, he does not get cheated. He takes a pretty healthy cut.
Ran that cutter in on him again, and all they could do was pull it foul. Kane's always going to hustle. Kind of one of those guys you really pull for. Small in size, but big in heart.
1-2 pitch. Fouled back, and Beltran was running on the pitch from second to third. He had that stolen easily. He used to take some pretty healthy cuts too.
Yep. Air conditioned the park.
Another 1-2 delivery. 2-2. First start of the season, and that pitch count getting up there for Randy Wolf.
It's 107, but what happens if you give up a little scratch hit and load the bases? You got the pitcher coming out. You're gonna
Won't have to worry about it. 7 strikeouts for Wolf. Cardinals add to their lead. Fox Sports Midwest is joining up with The Mission Continues on veteran-led service projects again this year. And you can help in Columbia, Missouri. We'll renovate a ball field on April 28th. Find out more at missioncontinues.org or foxsportsmidwest.com. Once again, we'll have our salute to the troops and broadcast to the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan this year.
look at this. The difference here, Lance Lynn, 54 pitches, and Randy Wolf, we assume he's out of the game, but he's got 108.
Ramirez, Hart, and Gamble for Milwaukee in their half of the fifth. 3-0 St. Louis on this Easter Sunday.
One hit allowed, that was to Ryan Braun, and then he picked him off, so he's faced the minimum.
Lance Lynn is from Brownsburg, Indiana. Grew up a fan of the Cardinals. Now pitching for that team. High school teammate of Drew Storen, the closer of the Washington Nationals. First round pick for the Cardinals in 2008. 39th overall from Ole Miss. Popped up, and that'll find the seats out of play.
Storen's still injured.
Opening weekend continues. We'll be in Cincinnati tomorrow, Monday night. The Reds without their closer, Ryan Madsen.
Out for the year. Also a setup man on the right side.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. $11 innings of postseason baseball last year for Lance Lynn. 5 games, went 2-0 with a 3.27 ERA. As the season continued, that'll get out of play. When I say that, I mean postseason. Tony La Russa would use Lance in some pretty big spots.
Well, there was no spot that was too big for him. You know, he was going to be the guy to bridge the gap to get to Mott, and he did it very well. And that's why you just feel like, you know, what he learned in those 6, 7, or excuse me, 10, 11 appearances.
Popped up again behind home plate.
Got a lot of confidence. It's quiet confidence, and but just that knowledge and what he went through in the postseason has just helped him now for this time he's going to be starting. Until we get Carpenter back. He will have a very valuable role with this ball club this year.
Again popped up. 1 away. And thanks to David Freese, we're not talking about Lance Lynn being called into a ball game mistakenly by Tony La Russa, where you could say, hey, maybe that caused the World Series to be won by Texas. You might remember that. It was also Lance Lynn that gave up 3 runs in Game 6, and then the Cardinals came back on the heroics of David Freese. Hart is grounded out to short. Lynn just his 3rd ever major league start here today. Nasty pitch.
He's thrown that breaking ball several times. He's made good hitters go after it. Looks like they're swinging at something, but they're not. It's not on the same plane as the pitch. Dan, don't you kind of get the feeling? I mean, you couldn't say I expected a 1-hit shutout, but we expected to see a very, very good performance.
No reason to think that we wouldn't. The way that Lance, pitched in spring training and carrying over from last season.
Just the way he carries himself.
Hammered out to deep left. Corey Hart is red hot and a long home run. What a start for Corey Hart, his 3rd home run.
When he hits one, there's no doubt about it. It's a big man. Doesn't quite look like the leadoff man that he was several times last year. But when he jumps on a pitch, You see Lance Lynn, he just knew by contact. See that swing there, you hear the sound. He knew where that one was ending up.
Matt Gamble takes a strike on the outside corner.
Now let's just watch how, after the home run by Corey Hart, let's just see how Lance Lynn, I believe that he's just going to show that bulldog attitude and just come right back on the attack and don't let the home run phase you. Can't do anything about it. It's in the record books, but you sure can control the rest of the at-bats.
Oh, 2 the count on Gamble. Check swing, and he went strikeout. Strikeout number 5 for Lance Lynn, and Corey Hart, he's doing some damage here early on. Already with 3 home runs and 4 RBIs this weekend series against St. Louis.
2 home run day yesterday, and then again today, another long blast. It was a lot like the one he hit off of Wainwright. Ron Renicky is happy with his right fielder, but maybe not. Can't say the same about some of the other players right now.
Here's Alex Gonzalez. He taps one foul. You know, Corey Hart is very blunt with the media in a good way, and he was asked about hitting behind Prince Fielder a year ago, and he said, I can't stand it because they walk fielder to get to me. There's a lot of pressure on me to come through, and I'm just not, you know, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it well. And they put him in the leadoff spot. And close to 15 home runs in that spot when Ricky Weeks was out. And so they've moved him back now, number 5 hitter behind Ramirez, and he feels a lot more comfortable, he said. Measured at 432 feet, the home run by Hart. No balls and 2 strikes here on Alex Gonzalez, who committed just 12 errors last year with the Atlanta Braves. And for being a slick fielder, hard to believe this is his 5th team in 4 years.
It's kind of moving in the right direction, though, usually on good ball clubs.
Bounced in the dirt, trying to get him to chase. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Corey Hart, 12 home runs against the Cardinals since 2010, and he has 27 RBIs in that same time, and that's the most home runs and RBIs against the Cardinals in that span. Here's a 2-2 pitch.
From any team, right?
That's right.
Yeah. 3-2 right here. Don't walk anybody, make him hit his way on.
Gonzalez, a check swing.
Swings at ball 4. I mentioned Gonzalez had a good spring, but his bat looks really slow. Really reaching for those balls out there. Cruz trying to give Lynn some confidence.
Strikeout number 6 for Lance Lynn. Now you were wondering, would he bounce back after the home run? Back-to-back Ks as we head to the 6th. Easter Sunday, and the Cardinals have the lead of 3-1. Springtime, you've got the final round of the Masters, playoff hockey, start of the baseball season, best time of the year for many sports fans. Estrada comes in. It's our Chevy call to the pen, the right-hander for Milwaukee. So he's in relief of Randy Wolf. Gave up 9 base hits, 3 runs. He struck out 7. And the Cardinals have a 2-run lead.
Marco Estrada retired all 4 batters he faced on Friday against St. Louis. With a strikeout. Gave him relief for Gallardo, the starter.
What's on tap? It's Skyline Chili for Al and baseball for everybody else. Westbrook, Bailey, tomorrow 5:30. Our Budweiser What's on Tap as we head to Cincinnati in the heated rivalry between St. Louis and the Cincinnati Reds. Looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun this year to see these 2 teams going back and forth. And probably these 2 teams as well. What do you think, Al? 3-team race in the Central with Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Cincy?
I would venture to bet that would be the trio. Cub fans don't believe in the Cubs. Pirates could be a little improved, but I think they're still going to be in the 2nd division. Houston, the youngest team in baseball, they're still got their growing pains. And I don't think any one of the 3 is really going to pull away from each other. It's what Estrada did last year in his 43 games, opening day roster for the first time.
Estrada is pitched with Washington, originally drafted by the Nationals out of Long Beach State. 6th-round pick back in 2005. Lynn, a swing and a miss, and that's how we start play here in the top of the 6th. You can join Matt Holliday this year in the Cardinals Kids Club presented by Rawlings. $25 and you'll get tickets, promotional items, and more. Sign up, that young Cardinals fan in your life. Go to cardinals.com/kidsclub. Top of the lineup in Rafael Furcal. 2 base hits. He pops 1 foul and out of play as Braun will give chase. Furcal, strong showing down the stretch for the Cardinals with his glove. Turn that into a 2-year extension. 34 years of age and a 2-time All-Star. Mentioned the other day that no team allowed more unearned runs than the Cardinals. 84. They had 116 errors, which was 7th most in the major leagues. The other 6 were over 100 games combined below the 500 mark. Cardinals knew, Al, that they had to do something with their defense. They did it, made a huge difference, and Furcal was a big part of that.
Dan, just thinking how many times you had a double play ball and you only got 1. That just happened way too many times, and Estrada looks like he's sharp.
We turn to our trivia question with 2 outs here in the Cardinals half of the 6th. Presented by AT&T. Rethink possible. Cardinals NLCS history. Name the teams they have faced only once.
Well, Milwaukee's one of them.
The Dodgers in 1985. We've seen him in postseason play, but only once in the NLCS as Green bunts it foul.
The other time the Cardinals faced him was in the World Series. Milwaukee was in American League.
And the Dodgers, it was a division series. And the NLCS of '85. Tyler Green is struck out on 3 pitches first time up, was hit by a pitch in the 3rd, and also lined out to short with 2 runners on. Getting the start at second base today.
And you might remember that 2 years ago they lost to the Dodgers in the division series, not the league championship series. That was one of our favorite highlights of Pedro Guerrero. The Jack Clark home run, slamming his glove down. Classic.
Tom Niedenfuhr on the mound for both Ozzie and Jack Clark's home run. Lifted into shallow right and caught by Ricky Weeks. Estrada 1-2-3 inning. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Taco Bell. Live Moss. Find a helpful servicing steel dealer near you. Visit steeldealers.com. And by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. Beautiful day here in Milwaukee. Easter Sunday. George Gutierrez will lead it off against Lance Lynn, the 8th place hitter that has bounced around in his major league career. Initially a drafted follow by the San Diego Padres in '03. Was traded to Boston, part of a David Wells deal at the time. And picked up by Milwaukee.
He's got good power. I guess you can ask Kyle McClellan about that. He hit a 3-run home run on Friday off Kyle. And Ron Renick's one of those guys that doesn't always save his second catcher. You know, that he'll let guitarists hit. And he's got great power.
Ron Renick finishing second in the Manager of the Year voting a year ago behind Kirk Gibson. Gibson said he will auction off his plaque. And he has basically taken all his memorabilia, Kirk Gibson, and auctioned it off. His bat from his famous 1988 World Series home run went for over $1 million. He said, I'm not giving it to my kids because they'll just fight over it, so I'll auction it off. And he's giving that money to his alma mater, Michigan State Scholarship Fund.
Really?
Here's a 2-2. Breaking ball and got him. Strikeout for Lynn. That's 3 in a row and 7 in the ball game.
He has really mixed his pitches well. Breaking ball right there just freezes him. And backdoor breaking ball. Left-hand hitter kind of give up on it. And you can see right now he's tied his career high of his June 2nd appearance at versus San Francisco when he went 5 1/3.
There's Travis Ishikawa, formerly of the San Francisco Giants.
Saw him a couple years ago, and he's been all AAA all last year. Travis, primarily a first baseman, but playing some outfield too.
Had to clear way to make room for Brandon Belt, former University of Texas star in San Francisco. So Ishikawa was let go, signed by the Brewers. And he looks at a called third strike. Off the bench. Strikes out. That's 8 for Lance Lynn.
Gonna look easy, isn't it?
Right now. Top of the lineup, and here's Ricky Weeks.
So a new career high in strikeouts as a starter. His most was 5 against that San Francisco club when we went 5 1/3.
Weeks has been called out on strikes back in the first and also flied out to left. Good rip and fouled back.
93, but a little bit upstairs. And see how efficient he's been. 5th inning. That's when he gave up the home run to Corey Hart. Had 19 pitches, but he's having fun out there.
1 ball, 1 strike. Ricky Weeks was dealing with a shoulder injury in spring. Also that sore ankle. They really need him, though, to be the catalyst at the top of this lineup. Can drop Hart down then to that 5th spot. Little bouncer that's back to Lynn and an easy 1-2-3 inning. Part of the lineup coming up for St. Louis as we move to the 7th. Carsoup.com. Email the booth. This from Ohio. And how many years do you think it'll take Hollywood to make a movie about last year's Cardinals? There is a book being written with Tony La Russa and Rick Hummel.
Rick Hummel, yeah.
Hall of Fame writer of the Post-Dispatch. Future Hall of Famer Tony La Russa.
And Lynn cooling off there a little bit, but couldn't have a much better inning than he just had. A pair of strikeouts, a little quail. Tapper right back to him.
1 ball, 1 strike on Holiday. Matt today has struck out. He's walked and scored and has an RBI double. Hit .296 last year. Drove in 75 and dealt with all kinds of odd injuries along the way. A moth in his ear, appendectomy. Remember swinging a bat on deck. He hurt his right middle finger. Missed time in postseason play.
Strained it back, lifting like a 5-pound weight.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Holiday sharply and off the glove of Weeks and into center field.
Watch your lips. Don't want to get in front of that one, do you? He hits the ball so hard and just really powers it through the infield. Ricky Weeks really didn't want any part of that one. It's hit hard. You can see him play sideways. He wasn't going to get in front of that one, and he didn't have a lot of time to take an extra step and square off to it, but that ate him up.
Carlos Beltran now hitting from the other side of the plate. This guy's had one heck of a career. He's just one of 9 switch hitters in baseball history with 300 or more home runs. Mickey Mantle at the top of that list at 536. And he hits it out to deep right field at the track, at the wall, and it's gone. Home run for Beltran. It's a 2-run shot and his 2nd of the young season.
3-hit day for Carlos. Just didn't sound that crisp coming off the bat, but it just did carry, and as you just mentioned, with his 300+ home runs, he's legit.
I don't think any Cardinal fan would forget the postseason that he put together in 2004 when he was with Houston.
I don't think he'll forget any of the Cardinal pitchers that helped him to that mega contract.
I asked Mike Matheny, who was catching in that series, I said, what was the deal? He said, we tried everything. Absolutely everything. Every way to pitch to Beltran, and we could not get him out. Freeze waves at the pitch. Quickly 0-2. Said it was the hottest hitter I've ever seen.
And you know, when he came over from Kansas City that year to Houston, he hit about 245 or something like that in the regular season. But boy, did he have a series.
Parlay that into a big contract with the Mets, 7 years. This is our Nissan drive of the game.
Looked a little better with that swing when you saw it in the video.
Here's Carpenter. He has a pair of strikeouts and also is flied out to left. 0 for 3. And he looks at strike 1. No activity in the Cardinals bullpen. You always hear about the base of a baseball player, whether it be a pitcher or a hitter, how important that is. And you see that, the importance of the base here, Al, with Matt Carpenter.
It's almost like you don't want him leaning over that front side. You want that front side back. And we're talking about how he was more of a closed hitter. Now he's opened up a little bit. And that way he can wait back and drive the ball.
Grounded slowly to the right side. Ishikawa stayed in the game. Had to get back to the bag at first. He does just in time. And there's 2 away.
That's an aspect of Carpenter they absolutely love. He always is hustling. And you watch him when he'll come out of the dugout to field his position and be the first one just sprinting out. But you never embarrass yourself by hustling down the line. And he's going to fool a couple guys because he made that one awfully close. I think you got about 3 more steps, or just take it for granted. And he's gonna get a couple base hits from a defense laying back on him.
Here's Tony Cruz. Fly to right, grounded out to short, and also popped out to second. First start of the season.
I have to say Tony and Lance Lynn have been on the same page.
Been some catchers that made careers out of being a specialty catcher.
Caddy.
Yes, if you will, for a particular pitcher.
Some guys have stuck around for several years, being McCarver with Carlton.
Think about Henry Blanco.
I was just thinking Henry Blanco.
With Greg Maddux all those years.
Greg Maddux said, I want Blanco. Blanco excellent defensively, but not known as an offensive player. And Greg said, I'll take care of the hitting. I got enough offense. I just want that guy that can help me with the game calling.
Off the end of the bat, pops it up into shallow right, and it is time to stretch. Newest addition, Beltran goes deep into right, his 2nd home run of the season. We take a look at our in-game box score presented by Burger King. For Call, a good afternoon with a pair of hits. Holiday, 2 runs scored to go along with his 2 hits. Cardinals right fielder Carlos Beltran is 3 for 4 moments ago, 2-run homer. David Freese leading the team in RBIs, and then Shane Robinson, his first start of the season, a couple of singles, and getting the start in center field. He's 2 for 3. That's a look at your in-game box score. Want to be here in person next time the Cardinals take the field? Just head to StubHub. It's easy to find the seats you want to all Cardinals games, whether it be at Busch Stadium or on the road. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Lance Lynn, only 2 hits allowed as we move to the bottom of the 7th here in Milwaukee. And Al, as you evaluate his performance with only 2 hits allowed, and he has struck out 8. Where's that success coming from? What have you seen?
Well, he's got a good fastball. He's, for a guy that is young as he is and as inexperienced, he has the ability to change speed. The biggest thing too is he doesn't defeat himself by walking people or getting behind counts. He's attacking the strike zone. And, you know, coming into this game, I think we felt comfortable, but you know, we were probably going to assume maybe 5 innings and then 5 and fly. But now he's pitched 6. He's got the offense out there and gaining more and more confidence, and more importantly, so is his teammates and his ability.
Doing it without Yadier Molina behind the plate today. Yadi the day off, and it's Tony Cruz. Quite a postseason for Lance Lynn. Mentioned that he is from Indiana. His wife is from Portland, Oregon, so they made the drive from Portland all the way down to Jupiter, and it took them 4.5 days, 53 hours in the car, and they did that because his wife was pregnant. So they have a brand new baby girl, 2 months old. And his wife, by the way, was
a softball player, right?
An All-American shortstop at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, where he starred.
Mia Jane Lynn, baby girl. And the first pitch to start the bottom of the 7th is taken for a ball by Niger Morgan, who's 0 for 2. Lined out to Freeze last time up.
And I like the fact you get the bullpen active. Looks like Mitchell Boggs, boy, he was good on Friday. But, you know, one of the few times that Lance Lynn has fallen behind the count. So, you know, 6 innings, you start getting that bullpen. And, you know, you make this a real positive outing for Lance Lynn. Hopefully you don't need to go to the reliever this inning, but he's ready.
You have to appreciate that look of Mitchell Boggs and what he has going, Al.
Scaring me.
I can tell. The 2-1 pitch. Ground ball taken there by Carpenter, and there's one away to start the bottom of the 7th.
Come back, throw strikes, bring him hit the way on, hit it right to a defender. Big thing for a young pitcher is those walks, and he hadn't walked a man yet.
Well, for the Milwaukee Brewers, this is the first time their payroll will hit 100 million. They had the 6th highest jump in payroll, even without the return of Prince Fielder. Al told you on Friday, current ownership bought the club in 2005, and the payroll was 27 million. So it's had quite a jump as we start play here in 2012.
You see the Bronze, the Hearts, you know, guys like that. You know, LaCroix got in a big contract. Now you get Ramirez.
Braun with a high fly ball into left center field. And Robinson makes the catch. That's 2 that Braun has hit to the track. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Now it's Ramirez. Struck out swinging in the 2nd. Popped out to Matt Carpenter, 0 for 2. First pitch, a strike to the 33-year-old who signed a 3-year deal.
Guess in one sense, Lance Lynn thinks he's still a reliever. You know, the relievers in the League Championship Series had more outs than the starters did.
Pitch count at 92 for Lance Lynn, and get the feeling that this could be his final inning of work. He is due up 2nd in the top of the 8th.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This is his final inning. And now you kind of really do reach back and think like a short guy in the bullpen and say, this is my final hitter. Just reach back with whatever's left and get him out. He's starting to get a couple balls up a little bit, getting a little better swings, but
you know, Lynn probably would have been your 8th inning guy. And those two have really had a lot of confidence in Mitchell Boggs throughout spring. And you wonder the kind of outing that Mitchell had on Friday, what that does to his confidence just to start the season on a good note.
I think it's immeasurable, because Mitchell has been trying to, you know, reprogram himself, really think in positive ways. He's gotten a lot of reinforcements from Mike Matheny, a lot of special little talks. And then to go out and get the ball and have such positive results like he did on Friday, you know, you just start building and starting believing that, you know, turn the page and now I can be that dominant pitcher that many people believe he could be. He has the stuff. One thing he's learned though is even when you do have great confidence, you are going to have occasions where you're going to have a rough outing, but you cannot let the shoulders droop. You got to really just keep on mentally thinking that these results, okay, they got me today, but they won't do it on a consistent basis. One more pitch, Lance. He's wearing Bob Forsh's old number. Bob Forsh would say you throw a strike on 2-2, 2 outs, you get them out.
Little bit low
when you throw a strike. No walks to this point. They've got to hit their way on.
Popped up. Is it playable?
No.
That'll find the seats. Crowd on Friday for their opening day was stunned early on. Cardinals came out with those home runs, quieted the crowd, and really from the opening pitch this afternoon, it's been a very quiet crowd here in Milwaukee. Popped up again.
The manager's hope or hate, you know, when you get a deep count like this, you might even take him out if it gets one man on, but you just, and then all of a sudden your pitch count goes up about 10 more pitches with a long at bat.
Two-out walk by Lynn, and long walk now by Mike Matheny towards the plate, and this looks to be a double switch.
And you make it positive outing. He's done an outstanding job. It's unfortunate he walked his first man right there and can't complete the 7 innings, but he's going to get a lot of high fives from a lot of teammates, and boy, did he pick everybody up. And you haven't won this game yet, but Cardinals are well on their way to winning this series, first of the year. And it might be Molina coming in to catch as Tony Cruz made the last out. He'll be catching Mitchell Boggs.
Sensational debut for Lance Lynn here in this 2012 season. 6 2/3. One walk that knocked him out of the game, but only 2 hits, and he strikes out 8. He'll turn it over to the right-hander, Mitchell Boggs.
As we said at our Chevy call to the bullpen, Mitchell Boggs, kind of a special project for Mike Matheny all spring long. Always talking to him, always trying to pump him up, trying to get the most out of his ability. And Mitchell, such an up and down season. I don't think he ever fully recovered when he was a closer at one point, had 3 quick saves, blew another one, and then he got sent to the minor leagues. And, or, you know, in his mind, no reason. And then they kind of manufactured, well, we're going to make you a starter, but he wasn't going to come back and start. So it was kind of a, you know, lost confidence in himself a little bit. But he was good on Friday.
Here's Corey Hart, who's off to a red-hot start. 3 home runs this weekend. Boggs may have deceived you, Al, and many that follow Mitchell in his career, but he's throwing changeups now. He was talking about that before the game, how The changeup is something he worked on a lot in spring training.
He can throw a 94-mile-an-hour sinker, which is, to have that high velocity at such a sinking action is a tough pitch. But you still need something else. And he has a breaking ball, but what he needs to do is throw strikes consistently.
A changeup was at the suggestion of a different grip from another Georgia native, Adam Wainwright. Boggs is from Dalton, where he was a tremendous quarterback in high school. The 3-1 pitch. 3-2. But predominantly, it's that sinker that's going to get people out.
It sets up everything. And the other pitches can get you off the velocity, but if you can throw that sinker and get ground balls, and he has the ability to throw it by a hitter.
Struck out 2 in the opening day for Milwaukee on Friday. Allowed 1 runner to reach base, and then that was erased. Came in a dangerous spot, got the double play. Another 3-2 pitch.
There's a good breaking ball there.
Nasty pitch by Boggs as he strikes out hard. Cardinals lead it 5-1 as we head to the 8th. 5-1 St. Louis. Welcome back to Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio with this Bomarito Sports Update.
Thanks, Dan. The Marlins in red this afternoon in Cincy. Closer Heath Bell trying to protect a Marlins 1-run lead in the 9th, but he serves up a leadoff homer to Jay Bruce to tie it up. And then with runners on first and third, Scott Rowland hits a sharply hit ground ball to third. Hanley Ramirez can't handle it. The walk-off winner for the Reds, 6-5 the final. Back to you.
All right, we'll see Cincinnati tomorrow. Thank you, Pat. Cardinals club already accomplished something that no other team in franchise history had done. They knocked at least 13 hits in both the first 2 games of this season as you get a look at the sidewinder Tim Dillard, and they have 11 hits today. 5-1 lead for the Redbirds as Shane Robinson digs in. One away. Dillard, a really interesting story. In 2010, Al, he was shagging fly balls in the minor leagues, and he just started flinging the ball to the shag bag, if you will, and doing it, throwing it like he is now on the mound. As Molina's greeted with boos, he'll be the pinch hitter. So out of a suggestion, and he threw 96 overhand, but out of a suggestion from the coaching staff in the minor leagues, he said, why don't you try that in a game, because you can throw 95 but it's straight. So he started doing this, and all of a sudden he's getting people out. He tops out at around 88 miles an hour, and the big question right now for Ron Renicky is, can he get left-handers out? They'll get a little longer look with a sidewinder.
Right, and he had some trouble in the outing Friday against the Cardinals. Dillard pops up Molina. 2 outs, so a good start, but pitched 2 innings, allowed 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, and a walk. In theory, you should be able to throw harder underhand than you can overhand. Arms are designed to swing below your waist, not to swing above it, above the shoulder.
Here's for Kyle, who's 2 for 4. We saw that highlight with Hanley Ramirez. Miguel Cabrera trying to make the move back to third. Ramirez had never played third, moving from shortstop. Easier said than done, huh?
Saw in the game from Miami against the Cardinals on Wednesday night, a couple little mental mistakes. Third baseman has the responsibility to go as far as he possibly can. One time he went to his left and stopped, and Reyes was, was trying to back up the play, but kind of assumed that it was going to be the third baseman's ball, which it was.
That's inside the third base line. Furcal is off to a great start. He'll dig for 2 as it's in the corner and then dug out by Ryan Braun. 3-hit day for Rafael Furcal.
I really believe, because we kind of know what's going to happen with Holiday and Berkman and like to think Freeze and stuff. But if the Cardinals are going to have the team we think they are, it's going to be Furcal and Beltran that are going to really have to be those catalysts offensively.
A table setter for sure in Rafael Furcal.
Definitely. And his defense is going to be a great addition all season long.
A strike to Tyler Green. His first start of the season is today. He is struck out, was hit by a pitch. He's lined out and popped out.
Kind of mentioned it too, like Renicky kind of find out if Dillard can get out to left-handed batters. Right-handers, they kind of see the release point and it almost feels like it's coming from behind your back, but left-handers get a good look at the release point.
1-2. Talking with the Cardinal hitting coaches about Dillard, they emphasized to the guys hitting from this side of the plate, front shoulder, staying in on it, not easy.
Yeah.
They also felt, some of the hitters talked about this, that with his windup, he also jumps towards the plate a little bit.
So the deception, they kind of.
Exactly.
So you really have to watch the release point. Because if you're not really zoned in on just the release point, then you see the body movement. You see all the different things and the jumping towards as his body jumps towards the plate.
3-2 is a ground ball, base hit. Furcal was hit by Ramirez trying to round third. He scores anyway, and Tyler Green winds up at second base. There was interference there, which would be the second time in this series we've seen that.
Laz Diaz, he sees it quite well because he started pointing. See right there, they get tangled up. Furcal comes home and scores easily.
Now, if Ramirez would have been able to get a glove on it, different story.
Yeah, but then it's the base runner.
Exactly. So first hit of the season for Tyler Green. It's an RBI base hit.
It's interference if the base runner interferes with the fielder. Obstruction if it's the other way around.
And Tyler Green takes second on the throw that was not cut off. So Matt Holliday, who's had a nice afternoon with a couple of runs scored, 2 for 3, RBI opportunity here. Got things started in the first with a double that scored Furcal, made it 1-0. Cardinals have never trailed in this ball game.
I think Matt will be happy to see another umpiring crew.
It seems like, Al, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like he's really fought the strike zone.
That's what I mean. It all started with Rapiano's strike zone on Wednesday night, as he got rung up on a couple pitches that just, you can't train your eye to swing it, and it's kind of carried over the rest of this series here is the same umpiring crews here.
Ramirez on the short hop, and he makes the play. Rafael Furcal, the 2-out double, comes in to score on the base hit by Green. Cardinals with a lead of 6-1. We were talking about Pedro Guerrero when he was wearing the Dodgers uniform. Here's his reaction to the Jack Clark home run. Bam.
He throws it down. Now that was off of Tom Niedenfuhr. But this is the Cardinals way. Look at that. That's still one of the greatest plays you ever see. And this was one of the greatest moments for a team. Game 6, the walk-off home run by David Freese. I got to tell you, my favorite story about Niedenfuhr, so he gave up that home run to Jack Clark. Well, Terry Forrester called him up. Terry Forrester said, look, Tom Niedenfuhr, don't worry about it. I'm still the most hated Dodger pitcher, because he gave up last day of the season, gave up a home run to Joe Morgan that knocked the Dodgers out of postseason and allowed the Atlanta Braves to sneak in 82 and win on the last day of the season. And Niedenfuhr called him up and said, don't worry, I'm still the most hated. After Niedenfuhr gave up Ozzie Smith's home run, he said, you just passed me. And then Whitey told me when Niedenfuhr was released, Whitey got a call from Niedenfuhr's wife, who was kind of acting as an agent, and said, Tom got released, and, would you like to sign him? And Whitey said, for everything he's done for the Cardinals, we need to sign him.
Norichiki Aoki is the hitter. 6-time Gold Glove winner in Japan. He was also an All-Star in 7 full seasons, and he picks up a base hit out to left.
Talking about almost falling down and making contact, that traditional swing we see from a left-handed hitting Japanese player. He had a .329 average in Japan, and look at that, just almost like the bat's an extension of the arms. It just slices it for his first American hit after a distinguished career in Japan. 3 batting titles, I think, and 6 All-Star appearances, something like that.
Well, he's the only player in that league's history to have 200 or more hits in a season. He's done that. This is Alex Gonzalez. Oh, it's interesting how Mike Matheny will use his bullpen throughout the season compared to that of Tony La Russa and what we saw for 16 years. But here we have back-to-back innings by Mitchell Boggs. A lot of times you didn't see that.
Oh, exactly. There's an awful lot of great advertisers with Fox Sports Midwest that are very disappointed in pitching changes.
This is hit down the left field line. That's trouble. And that'll go to the wall. Aoki being waved in. He will score. Gonzalez, he picks up his first base hit. It's an RBI double. And it makes it 6-2.
That's Gonzalez's first hit this season. And Dan, I don't want to make any excuses for Mitchell Boggs, but some of these guys may get time to get used to it. Mentally thinking that, okay, I got out of that inning, I'm going to be taken out, and then find themselves right back out there pitching. Aoki goes around the bases. Gonzalez and really Carpenter, the first baseman, Matt Carpenter, was really hustling, and he was in position to, if they wanted to throw behind, maybe pick off Gonzalez at second base.
Gutierrez flies to center. Gonzalez back to second, and there's one away.
The life of a reliever, sometimes you get out of a precarious situation one inning, you go sit down, and then you immediately get back into a troublesome spot before you get that adrenaline flow again.
And you don't know what to make of spring training stats, because Rafael Furcal now has as many hits, 10 in 19 at-bats to start this season, than he had 52 at-bats during spring training. Now, to follow up that point, I'll ask you about Fernando Salas. Salas did not have a good spring, and at this point, it's very, very early, but hasn't looked overly sharp.
Well, the natural answer is the difference in being the more veteran player like Furcal. That Hay almost can flip a switch, but it sure helps when you've had a poor spring to have a good start to the season, and then you kind of really almost mentally say, okay, I am back in a groove.
The Cubs pick up their first win of the season, 4-3 against the Nationals. Jeff Samardzija was 1 out away from a complete game. He went 8 2/3. First loss for Washington.
Good thing we got their no win and no loss graphic in.
Just beat it. Here's a 2-1 pitch to Travis Ishikawa. Tapped foul. Two and two the count. Ishikawa came off the bench, struck out his first time up. And he's 0 for 2 with a pair of Ks. We've talked about the demeanor of Mitchell Boggs, and Derek Lilliquist was one of his coaches in the minor leagues. Doesn't hurt that both those guys are Georgia natives.
Well, it's once again, like I said, a year ago, Mitchell Boggs might have, after the 2 hits to start this inning, you'd see the shoulder slump, and you know, all of a sudden the Milwaukee Brewers would pick that up, and all of a sudden their confidence would gain. Well, now he's battling against that. He does not present that weakness on the mound. He kind of reaches back and gets that football mentality. I'm going to come right at you. All right, you got 2 hits. Can't do anything about that, but I can stop you from scoring anymore. And that's what you have to do, is always present a very positive image when you're out there on the mound.
Ricky Weeks 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Boggs has struck out 2 in relief of Lance Lynn. Can't say enough about the job that Lance Lynn did today.
And the best thing about it is we expected it. That's the confidence that we have in Lance Lynn. And the more that you get that, then it allows a Chris Carpenter to fully recover and not come back too soon. Like Derek Lilliquist trying to voice his displeasure in the selection, the ball call.
That's a nasty pitch again, and a strikeout. Out of the 3 strikeouts, that third one with the breaking ball, as well as the first, as we head to the 9th at 6-2. The work of Brian McCann there on this Easter Sunday. Glad you're with us. Al Rabowski, Dan McLaughlin, and it's 6-2. St. Louis with 13 hits today as we move to the 9th. Tom Mee back again, our esteemed director. Mike Helling, our producer. Keith O'Brien with us, and this is John Axford. He was 46 of 48 save opportunities a year ago. And he turned out to be one of the best closers. And you think about K-Rod, who's their setup man in the 8th. This should be a very good team late innings.
Yeah, they really feel that they got the 7th inning covered too with Veras. Jason Mott looked like he'll get a shot to come in here. Won't be a save situation, but he can save the rubber game of the series. You think he's okay out there? Not sure you're warming up under control there.
But that's him.
I know, and we love him. We love him for it. But 2008
to 2011, 4 years, Beltran had 3 home runs against St. Louis, and right now 4 games as a Cardinal. He has 2 2-run shot earlier in this ball game, couple of singles, and 3 for 4. Big breaking ball taken high.
Axford has that, tall, lanky body, desirable for a pitcher that.
Axford and Kateris, this battery, both from Canada. Began his professional career with the Seattle Mariners, 7th round pick back in 2001.
Hard to believe that Axford was released by the Yankees back in 2007.
Most of his career spent as a starter, and then he moved to the bullpen, and that's where he has found his success.
2001 selected by Seattle, did not sign. 05 selected by Cincinnati, didn't sign, and signed with the Yankees as a non-drafted free agent, released in 07, signed as a free agent with Milwaukee. There was a time where he was kind of the Kurt Warner grocery bagging.
And a swing and a miss, 95 miles an hour. He struggled early last season. He blew 2 saves in the first 2 weeks. And you wondered if he was the guy to be the closer for the team. Then he did not blow a save the rest of the regular season. His next blown save was in Game 5 of the division series against Arizona, and they eventually won that.
In 06, he pitched for the Melville Millionaires of the Western Major League Baseball League in the Canadian Summer League. A lot of top prospects come out of that team. He was a millionaire a little earlier.
I know you'll appreciate this. This is something that has meant a lot to him. He was the recipient of the 2011 Robert Goulet Memorial Mustache American of the Year Award.
It's Canadian.
I don't know how he got it then. Here's a 2-0 pitch to Freeze.
I think Robert Goulet was might have been Canadian also, but he does kind of look more like one of the 3 Musketeers.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. 2-2. One point he was selling cell phones.
Cell phones, Walmart, Best
Yep.
Buy, bartender later.
He said the best part, though, I got a free cell phone out of it. Didn't have any money, but I got my cell phone.
Couldn't pay the bill.
Give him a lot of credit, though, for sticking with it. They say he's just a tremendous guy. He's very active in the Milwaukee community. It was just in 2008 he was only at Class A ball. Blew out his elbow when he was in college.
All right. Went to the University of Notre Dame.
3-2 spoiled by Freeze.
Enjoys reading and movies, particularly foreign films. And he's on Twitter.
Twitter?
Yeah, he's on Twitter.
Three-two pitch. Strikeout of Freeze and 2 away.
He's the Rolaids Relief Award winner last year in the National League. Carpenter 0 for 4 with a couple strikeouts. That won't happen a third time.
Here's Matt Carpenter. And he takes a ball low. It'll be Morgan, Braun, and Ramirez looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth. 6-2 St. Louis. On the air tomorrow at 5:30. We'll see you in Cincinnati. Reds and Cardinals, game 1 of their 3-game set. Westbrook and Homer Bailey.
Said another walk-off victory for the Reds. Had a lot of those the last few years.
Real key for them will be keeping Scott Rowland healthy this year.
Scotty, one of our favorites, and he said he's had a lot of trouble, you know, with shoulder problems over the years, and now he's up there with about 37.
Three and two.
When you turn 38, man, you're really old.
Thank you, Al. And I feel it.
You celebrated it, didn't you?
I did.
We were in spring training.
We celebrated together, Al. Luke was there.
Yep.
Happy Easter to Luke and Avery, Barrett, and Olivia. Easter Bunny came to the McLaughlins today. And a walk to Carpenter.
Komatsu going to pinch hit, the Cardinals Rule 5 player who picked up his first major league hit in his first plate appearance on Friday.
And as you mentioned, he was the Brewers minor league player of the year a couple of seasons ago. 24 years old, noted for his speed and defense. Played at Cal State Fullerton. Always a powerhouse in college baseball.
You know, I was talking to somebody with the Brewers, and they said, was it Brett Lowry?
That went to Toronto?
That went to Toronto, and part of the trade a couple of years ago was a sensation up there. He's a native of Canada, but they said he should have had the team, but they said Komatsu was just the perfect, you know, organization guy. You know, just a great young man, did everything the right way. Lowry kind of got rubbed the guys the wrong way and stuff that way, and so they said Komatsu was the player of the year, and they really like him over here, and the Cardinals do too. The challenge would be, can you keep him all year, because he will be claimed on waivers if you put him up there.
2-1 the count. A lot of talk prior to Joey Votto signing his long extension now with the Reds that it was just a matter of time that he would go to Toronto. He is a Toronto native.
Well, he's got 2 more years on his existing contract, and then he signs a 10-year contract beyond that. Joey Votto. What could be the second richest. It would surpass Albert's contract.
And Votto and Albert represented by the same agent. 3-1 the count. Play behind the runner at first with a lefty up.
3-2 count. The runner's going to be running anyway, so put yourself in a better defensive position.
And the 3-2 pitch to Komatsu. And he walked him.
This is the nightmare for any manager. You know, you put your closer in there to get a little work, get a tune-up, and then all of a sudden he starts throwing so many pitches, you start worrying about it. And that's it. Now, come on, he's going to take him out.
Shane Robinson coming up when we come back. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Smooth Bush Beer and Easy Drinking Bush Light. By Burger King, the proud sponsor of opening week baseball. And by Schnucks Pharmacy, the smart choice. He is one of the tallest pitchers in the history of baseball. 6'9" Cameron Lowe wears number 50 for Milwaukee. He was 4-7 last year with an ERA of 3.50.
Another guy with a great arm that was released by Texas back in '08. Prior to his release, he was sold sold to the Hawks in the Japanese league, but with further examination, I know why he was traded, why he was released. He used to own a 7-foot boa constrictor. He used to bring it to the clubhouse.
Brewers put an end to that. They said that's enough of that. He'll face 5'9" Shane Robinson. Shane, a couple of base hits today. Got the start in center field.
A couple springs ago, did a spring training game against Minnesota, and they had a 7-2 pitcher, and that day he happened to have a shortstop that was 5'4", and it was quite the sight to see the 5'4" shortstop go talk to the 7'2" on the mound.
2-0. Lowe played high school baseball with Ryan Braun. Those two were teammates. You know, Axford had many appearances last year against St. Louis and only walked one in 24 at-bats against Cardinal hitters. And here he's had already 2. That's taken for a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike.
And I'm sure Cameron saw that the closer was going in to just get an inning of tuning up. Figured the last thing he'd be would be in this game in the same inning.
And Mott standing on the mound in the bullpen right now. This is hit out to deep left field. Braun will look up and it's gone. Shane Robinson with a 3-run homer. A 3-hit afternoon.
And obviously his first major league home run. I know he's hit him in spring training, but what a thrill. And now Axford is really upset with himself. You walk 2 and now you got the ERA because this one swing, high fastball right there, and I think the 5'9" guy won.
Here's Molina. Shane Robinson had an unbelievable college career at Florida State. 5th-round selection in '06 by the Cardinals. At one point, he had a 40-game hitting streak with the Seminoles. A lot of English on that ground ball. Taken by Weeks. Shane Robinson makes it 9-2, his first major league home run. What a thrill for Shane, and it's a 3-hit day. Plenty to talk about coming up on the postgame show. Shane Robinson, 3-hit afternoon. It's Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Pat Paris and Rick Horton standing by. All smiles for Shane and the Cardinals today. They lead it 9-2 on this Easter Sunday.
Shane's second on the club in RBIs now. He had an RBI prior to today, so he's got 4 in the year to freeze his 6.
And here's the Cardinal closer, Jason Mott. Even though it's a 7-run lead, he was up and throwing, and he'll come in. Appeared in 78 games last year. Saved 5 postseason games for the Cardinals. Was scored upon just a couple of times in 12 appearances in the playoffs.
5 for 5 in those save opportunities. He only had 9 saves on the year, but boy, he made them. They were all important ones down the stretch.
That pitch right there, he really worked on a lot in spring training. It's more of a cutter than it is a slider. Now he talks about, you know, with a slider or a cutter, he said with a slider he would think about it. With a cutter, it was more he just positioned his hand as he gets tripped up on the mound. But with the cutter, he talked about just the positioning of the baseball and finishing the pitch. Just reared back and threw it. It's turned out to be a very good pitch for him.
Just very simply, it's like, you know, the fingertip pressure and then throw it like your fastball.
Wow. 97 from Jason Mott. 92, 85, and then the last pitch at 97.
You still, the significance of having the secondary pitches is you still have to go up there and always look fastball. So if he can work into account some pitches that are at a different velocity, a dramatic difference like that, and have the ability to throw it for strike, you know, then he really has something.
Here's Braun, who twice has flied out to the warning track. I was talking with Jason about pitching, and you know, had he done it prior to coming to professional baseball, whether it be in high school or little league, and he said the last time he did it, he was 12 years old. Always had a strong arm, but it was in 2006 when the organization came to him and told him that his time as a catcher was through. Derek Lilliquist actually called him into the office in the minor leagues and had a very difficult conversation at the time with Jason Mott. The club before Al said to him, "We'd like to turn you into a pitcher." He said, "Give me just a little bit more time. Let me try to hit."
Yeah, you got to get out of your system. But
yeah,
you know, you reach reality is, okay, either you try this or you go home. Then all of a sudden people start thinking, well, maybe it's not a bad idea.
Another long fly ball off the bat of Braun, and this is gone. This time it gets over the wall. A home run for Ryan Braun. First of the season for Braun.
The difference is this time he was able to pull it a little more than the 2 drives to center field, the deepest part of the game, park. You know, you got the good velocity. You got to sometimes elevate it or get it down a little bit, in or out. But up over the plate, I'll get it.
And a fly ball to center off the bat of Aramis Ramirez. 2 away. Let's turn to our Budweiser player of the game, and it's the starter this afternoon for the Cardinals, Lance Lynn. 6 2/3. He's in line for the victory. Only 2 hits. He walked 1. He strikes out 8. And he's replacing Chris Carpenter in this rotation. Carp took him 8 starts to get his first win last year. You might remember. May 10th. The boy, was he good.
Yeah, he was good in a lot of those starts. You know, they just didn't get a victory because they didn't have any run support. But isn't it nice, and have no qualms with picking Lance Lynn? He's the one that should get it, but isn't it nice to have other choices?
Here's Hart, and a pop up to the right side. Carpenter giving chase out of room. Corey Hart, another home run today.
How about the fact the Cardinal hitters playing their 4th game, and 3 of the 4 they've been in double figures in hits.
13 or more in 3 of the 4.
And I believe in the 4 games, even with a shutout, they've scored 24 runs.
Brewers down to their final strike.
And how about the fact that on the season, the Cardinals have only committed 1 error in 4 games, and no position player has an error.
A 2-2 pitch to Corey Hart. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And the Cardinals take the series here in Milwaukee, and they win it on this Easter Sunday, 9-3.
How about happy flight time?
I like it.
Worked wonders for the club last season, and do the same here again this year.
Cardinals bang out 14 hits, and the Redbirds are now 3-1. It starts with the starters. We roll out to the post-game show. Lance Lynn was outstanding. Carlos Beltran, his second home run. Shane Robinson, first ever in the bigs. And Mott finishes it off.
Welcome to Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live.
This is hit out to deep left field. Braun will look up, and it's gone. Shane Robinson with a 3-run homer.
Well, there's something you don't see every day. Shane Robinson, the 3-run homer to cap off a 9-3 Cardinal victory over the Brewers and cap off a series win, first of the season for the Redbirds as well. Hello, everybody. Happy Easter. This is the post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live alongside a man who has been eating nothing but Peeps for the last 3 hours, Ricky Horton. I'm Pat Paris. Coming up, I love Peeps, by the way. Coming up, back to Beardtown for Cardinal player reaction and mic'd up, plus our predictions for the season ahead, and we'll get you ready for the Redbirds' first trip to Cincinnati of the season. But before we get to all that, it is about winning series. That doesn't change now that Tony La Russa is no longer a manager and Mike Matheny is, and the Cardinals have their first opportunity today, and they come through.
And you're going to win series when you get good starting pitching, and that's exactly what the Cardinals got again today from Lance Lynn. They've had good starting pitching really from the get-go, but I think the real story again is the Cardinal bats. People have talked about this being a running team behind Mike Matheny, maybe running more than the team would have with Tony La Russa, but right now what they're doing is hitting, and that's why they're winning, not only hitting, but hitting with authority. A couple more home runs today, so the news has been very, very good so far in 2012.
And don't forget, the tweet is on. We want your questions and comments via Twitter at FS Midwest. That's where you can send them, and we'll answer a few of them throughout the show this afternoon. And we will continue right now by heading back to Milwaukee. Jim Hayes moments ago catching up with Carlos Beltran, our Mid-America Chevrolet Dealers Player of the Game. Cat?
3-hit afternoon for Carlos Beltran, including a 2-run homer. You guys are out of the blocks at 3-1. That's a pretty good start. At this point in the season, having gone through spring training, are you starting to find out some things about this ball club?
Well, I think, we're as a team, we're going to go out there and compete. We know that since spring training. We know we have good pitching staff. The key for us will be being able to score runs and manufacture runs. And, Fulcar is doing a tremendous job on the top of the line of getting on base. And, everyone is kind of like feels good at the plate.
You seem to be real comfortable right now. A couple of home runs, even a stolen base. Health-wise, do you feel as good as you felt in a while?
I feel great, man. Honestly, for me, spring training was a key. Being able to do the whole spring, being able to work in the outfield and go through the whole routine was something that I wasn't capable of doing last year. So I played in a lot of games in spring training. I took maybe like 50 at-bats, so it was positive for me, leaving spring training to start the season.
Being a Cardinal, you said this was one of the places you target in the offseason. Is it what you thought it would be to this point, being a Cardinal? Haven't been to St. Louis yet, but just getting a sense for your teammates?
Well, honestly, we have a great group of guys. Like I said, we have guys, veteran guys, younger guys, but the most important thing is, we're going out there as a team. We're competing. We're playing good baseball right now. We're getting a great outing for starting rotation, so that's always huge.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
All right, this is Carlos Beltran. We send it back to you guys.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. So from the field there at Miller Park, let's get up to the booth. A view from the booth. Dan McLaughlin and Al Rabowski just called the game here on Fox Sports Midwest, and they join us now to put a wrap on this one. And what a terrific start, an awesome start really for the Cardinals in a lot of ways, guys.
Yeah, so many things to talk about, Pat, but we're going to take a look at the starting pitching of Lance Lynn and really his entire day. That's one of the stories. Beltran is a story. The defense is a story. But, Al, let's focus on the big righty.
Well, he did everything he needed to do. He came out here and won. He was in complete command. You know, he didn't walk one until right at the end, but he just was going on attack mode, up and down, changing speeds, doing all kinds of things, and had a very good offensive team in his grasp. So it was really a pleasure. And then even offensively, he picked up a base hit, his first major league hit of his career. But you think about it now, we've had 4 games, we've had 4 very good starts from our starting pitching. Wainwright, there was more positives than anything negative, and coming off the Tommy John, you know, we'll take that outing and it's only going to get better.
What does it say, too, right now about this club with a new manager, no Albert Pujols? You start out on the road, you go to a new ballpark, you win in Florida. Then you take on a team, and this set up dangerous to look at the schedule on paper, but you take on a team that had the best home record last year in baseball. You take 2 of 3. I know it's early, but what's it say about this team?
Well, I think it just proves to them that they are a very, very good team, and I think they should win the Central Division. If you're not playing well, you don't like to face Milwaukee, and then now we're going to go to Cincinnati. But the way this team is playing, they have their confidence. We just, you know, we're going to talk about it in our next hit. You know, looking forward to tomorrow and seeing Jake Westbrook. You really like to see what you're seeing, especially when you were really questioning about for call. You know, he had the rough spring. He's off to a great start. Beltran's out there. You know Holiday is going to have monster numbers. So this is a real team effort, and everyone is enjoying it, you know, doing this and doing it early for Mike Matheny.
And everybody pitching in is Shane Robinson as well. So some of the young guys are getting a chance to play. They got that chance today, made the most of it. So Lynn wins his 3rd start ever in the big leagues. He's now 1-0, and of course we're off to Cincinnati, and again Jake Westbrook gets that start tomorrow night. Pat, let's send it back to you.
All right, guys, great stuff, and we'll check in with you a little later to preview that game tomorrow night in Cincinnati. And let's pick up what they were talking about Lance Lynn, Rick. This is a guy, he's not unfamiliar with starting, but he's not started a whole lot in the major leagues. And you had that in your career where you would go through stretches where you're just a reliever, and then all of a sudden you have to start, and it's not easy to do.
And there's some transitionary things that we want to talk about here. And again, it's converting back to what Lance Lynn actually prefers to do, and that's being a starting pitcher. He'll actually say, I'd rather start than relieve. It's something he did throughout his life and throughout his minor league career. But there's 3 main points, really, for what you have to do to go back from the bullpen back into the starting rotation. And conditioning is really the obvious thing. You have to condition your arm to throw longer, and you actually have to have a little bit better cardio conditioning as well. But the secondary pitches become very important, and we saw them from him today. Not just the fastball, but what's pitch number 2, pitch number 3, pitch number 4, and what kind of plans do you have to get guys out the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th time you might face them in a game? Something a reliever doesn't really have to worry about. But in Lance Lynn's case, we saw a little bit of that develop today as he went the 2nd, 3rd time through the lineup. He was very effective. In fact, in some cases, more effective when he went to the plan B or the alternate way to get guys out. So just an outstanding performance for Lynn, and so far so good.
And he really, it was pretty remarkable. He gets into the 5th inning. He faced the minimum because remember the only base runner was Braun and he got picked off. He faced the minimum until he gets to the 5th inning. But then you get to guys again and again, and you talk about having to have a different plan. Our Don Brown deal of the game shows that he needed a different plan to one batter, but he was able to settle down after
Well,
that.
Al Rabowski was right on this during the game. How is he going to respond to this? A mistake? Get mad for about 2 seconds, get over it. What do you do to the next batter? And that's why it makes our Don Brown deal, because what he does to follow is outstanding. Again, there's that pitch. We'll look at it for a little more pain one more time. That's the home run to Corey Hart. But then what he does to follow is just carve up the next couple of batters. He did it by going right at him. He wasn't behind hitters really all day long. He's going to give up some home runs, Pat, because he's around the plate. But there's that curveball that started to develop more and more the 2nd time through the lineup. And then again, just very weak swings at this point. Again, that's following the first strikeout, and he's just going to carve up Gonzalez here, who's a pretty decent hitter, almost strikes him out with the fastball down and away. And again, that's the slider, so he's throwing curveball, slider, and fastball. Very off balance, Gonzalez, that entire at bat, and then he blows him away with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So what he actually does is exactly what Al was calling him to do, and that is to get back on track quickly. You've got to be able to do that as a reliever or a starter for that matter. But Lance Lynn, as a young pitcher, it's one of the things you watch for is how do you overcome something negative that happens on the mound, and giving up a home run would be one of those negative things, but it doesn't have to get worse, and it didn't.
And it carried over to the next inning as well. He ended up striking out the next 4 batters after giving up the home run, which was very impressive. And then you talk about secondary pitches, and you did right there as we look at what Lance Lynn did throughout the lineup, and it was the secondary pitch that after the fastball that really helped him out.
Good mix. First time through the lineup, second and third. This is a beautiful graph. I mean, talk about your perfect spreadsheet for you to look at here on the postgame. But what it does is it also shows how he used the curveball more the second time through. Went from 4 times to 11 times. It got sharper and sharper. He was getting guys out ahead. And what he was doing, very interesting, when he was using the curveball the second time through the lineup, he actually started using the fastball up in the zone as the complementary pitch. It's sinker slider, but when you throw the curveball, then that complementary pitch is that fastball up in the zone, and he got some Brewers to chase. So really, fastballs down, later was fastballs up, planned up, and so he really had multiple options today, and they all seemed to work.
And this was a pressure game for him as he pitched, too, because the Cardinals didn't really break this open until the middle innings. It was a 1-0 lead, then a 2-0 lead for quite some time.
Every game in the big leagues is a pressure game when you're a young guy trying to make a rotation, trying to fill in for Chris Carpenter, and he did just that.
Absolutely did. Still much more to come on Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Reaction from Milwaukee, and how about some mic'd up, hot mic, as in an open microphone. That's what we're talking about.
You said it, not me.